There was so much life and settlement in this valley. The Sinaiaks were unfortunately displaced from their land very early, and European settlement took its place. But there were people living all through here. Right where we're standing was the part of a Ukrainian community known as Mount Karshe, because it's at the base of Mount Karshe. There were probably at one point 200 or 300 people living in the settlement of Mount Karshe. They all had large acreages, they had farms, they had their own church down here, they had their own school, they had a cemetery. They had a vibrant lifestyle. They celebrated their Ukrainian heritage with their music and through their culture. There were other communities farther south where the ferry crossed the river at 12 Mile. There were families living on both sides of the river there. There was a smaller community north of here called Greenslide. There was one farther south called Wigwam. There was Sidmouth and Hall's Landing. Hall's Landing was named after a family that had settled there in the 1890s, and they had a huge farm operation. They had a cattle farm and were just really well known throughout the valley for their farming, for their cattle. People were told they had to leave because of the Hukinleyside Dam. All of these farmers had to leave their way of life. They had to leave their animals behind. How painful that would have been for people to have to sell off their cattle, get rid of their horses, get rid of their chickens, uh, and not being able to live the same lifestyle, not being able to farm, not being able to have their farm animals. People can get really emotional when they think about the loss of animals because we all have such a strong connection to the animals in our lives.